With the NHL trade deadline officially in the rearview mirror, the Leafs did not move on from some of their most notable prospects, and it's a good thing because one of them is absolutely lighting it up in Junior. The Leafs have unveiled a new jersey that they're going to use this week, and some fans really like it, and some fans don't or wish they were a little bit different. All of that and more in this episode of Leafs Digest. Welcome back to Leafs Digest. My name is Darius Domingues. And guys, we've noticed that about 80% of you watching this video are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to do yourself a favor and Nick and I a favor to support the channel, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Toronto Maple Leafs. And it's going to be exciting. The trade deadline, like I mentioned, in the rearview mirror. So we are focused on the playoffs. What are the Leafs going to do? Everyone's gearing up for the Stanley Cup playoffs, so it's going to be very exciting. But before we get into any of that and Easton Cowan, we will touch on the St. Pat's jerseys. That's right, the Leafs officially unveil the St. Pat jerseys. And why this is a big deal this year, it's because they're different. The last couple of years, I think they've been using the same ones really since they introduced them back to the Leafs, I guess, jersey arsenal. But without further ado, we'll unveil them here. The Toronto Maple Leafs have released a new version of their annual tribute uniform to the Toronto St. Pats. These will be worn on a game on March 16th this weekend against the Carolina Hurricanes. And honestly, I don't hate them. I think they're pretty nice, and I'll bring them back up on the screen in a second. I think they're really nice, and it's something different. They actually got the clover leaf on the front of the jersey now, the crest, and it says St. Pat's. It's quite nice. It's quite nice, and it's a good change because every year, like, I hate it when teams change their jerseys every year. Let me get that straight, right? Personally, I don't know how everyone feels about that, but there are teams out there that do that. I feel like every 2 years, and I hate that, and I'm glad the Leafs do not do that. But they change it up here, and I think in this case, change is not a bad thing, right? The old ones, they were nice at the time, but personally, I'm not a fan of the St. Pat's jerseys being white if they're only going to go with one version of the jersey. But these are pretty nice, and we'll get into it further. A closer look at the Leafs Forever St. Pat's jerseys here, and obviously the new crest, and there's standard numbers this time because if you remember, the numbers on the last St. Pat's jersey, they were kind of like patches, something like that. So anyway, they're more standard numbers this time. They look pretty clean, and obviously it goes on to say there's a long history with the St. Pat's and the fact that they were the franchise before the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have the honor, pride, and courage in the jerseys. And the one thing that kind of stands out to me, I'll bring it back to here. They got the milk ad on there. It's kind of, I don't know, it's just weird. It's just weird at this point. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, I think they're nice. And the pants and the socks and the helmets are all green, so that's gonna be all fun for this weekend, St. Patrick's weekend. But if it was up to me, and I think a lot of Leaf fans agree with me, and a lot of them were, talking about this on Twitter. I saw this a lot on Twitter yesterday, and I was expecting with the announcement of them changing the jersey that it was going to be something like this. I would rather it be something like this from the Sundin era. I'd rather it be all green, look very retro-like. Maybe do something with the brown pants, brown helmets, brown gloves, all that good stuff, kind of like what the Oilers did for the Heritage Classic this year. So I don't know. I would have liked to have seen something like that, something different, put a spin on this jersey, let's say, but something more down, that aligns with this. I think it would have looked a little nicer, but you know what? We can't be picky with jerseys, and it's something for the fans to buy and show support and stuff like that, right? They wear it one time a year, and we'll see if they change them again next year. Who knows, right? But all in all, to bring it back to this, I do like the jersey. I don't hate it. I think it looks pretty sharp. I like the tone of green as well, so it's all cool. St. Pat's, day this weekend. They'll be wearing it against Carolina this week. Now, let's get into one of the Leafs' best prospects who's, seemingly come out of nowhere this year. Easton Cowan is absolutely lighting the OHL on fire this season, and it is fantastic to watch. I am having a blast watching Easton Cowan absolutely light up the league, and he's having a season that we haven't seen in quite some time in terms of, the whole point streak and all that stuff. But in terms of being a Leafs prospect, close to home, London, Ontario, 2 hours away from Toronto. You can go see him if you want, if you live in the area. If you're a Leafs fan, it's exciting, very exciting. So Easton Cowan collected 3 primary assists this past weekend as he extended his point streak to 32 games. And his OHL totals, and we'll get to his stats in a second too. He's played 50 games this year. He has 32 goals, 88 points. He's a plus 37, and he has 167 shots on goal. Of course, it's 1967. That's hilarious. But he has been a revelation in terms of Leafs prospects this year. The fact that, nobody knew who he was when they drafted him that high, and people were projecting him to be a second or third round pick. And the season he's had so far in the OHL is absolutely fantastic. And London is fighting for first place in the OHL right now, right up there with Saginaw. And Saginaw has a very good team. They put together a really good team because they're hosting Memorial Cup this year. So London's right in the mix with them for that first place spot in the entire league. So Easton Cowan's not only putting the season together, these great point totals, 88 points so far in 50 games. He's going to have a good run in the playoffs as well, because London looks like they're going to finish first in the league. So that's exciting. And Easton Cowan, this is a little bit of an older graphic, but just to give you an idea where he stands right now, he's now tied with Brett McLean, or I guess he's moving towards Dave Gilmour. And this is a pretty impressive list. I mean, he's headed there. He's the top 3 in point streaks in the past 30 years in the OHL. It's pretty impressive stuff what he's doing, and he's the only one to do it in the OHL since, reach 32 since the year 2000. So I think that's pretty impressive as well. What is there to say about Easton Cowan? This guy, like I said, I used the word before, a revelation. He is exactly that. He has been fantastic. And not only in just the OHL, because we're looking at OHL stats here, right? But that's the longest, like I mentioned, the longest in the OHL since at least the year 2000. But if you look at some other names on this list, Logan Stankoven, who was just called up to the Dallas Stars, he's been having a great year too, showing out. Connor Bedard, I don't even have to explain that. Sidney Crosby, again, I don't even have to explain that. And Radulov with 50 games, which is just crazy in that 05-06 season in the queue. But he's up there. Look at the names he's up there with, right? Like, he is up there with some great talent. And the point streak continues. Like, it could go to the end of the year. They are on a roll. London is playing really well. He's playing really well. So it's going to be fun to keep tabs on. But again, he's up there with some big names. And I saw an argument too, that the names on this list are not exact. Like, I saw some arguments on Twitter that any of the guys he's on this list with make the NHL, and I mean Jordan Kyrou obviously in the NHL right now and a pretty good player at that. But I think there's something to be said about Easton Cowan being in his year right after his draft year. He's just drafted. Now it's kind of that you go back and you work on your skills and you take over a league kind of thing, and you work your way into the NHL or the AHL in a few years, right? Some of those guys on that list, and there's guys just below him too that he's just passed, they might have been overagers, 21-year-olds, right? You would kind of expect that from older players playing against 16, 17, 18-year-olds in the OHL. This guy, freshly drafted, not too many people knew what he was about last year. And if you look at his point totals too, I mean, compared to last year, this guy is putting on a show this year, all right? Like, he has taken a significant step forward. And again, he's only 18 years of age. So back to my point that, maybe some of those guys didn't make the NHL, but they were probably older too, right? They were probably undrafted and they were a little bit older and they took over the league. This guy's already doing this at 18 years old, which we've seen before from other players. But I'm just saying, it's quite impressive what he's doing, the numbers he's been able to put together. And not only the numbers, Easton Cowan is physical, and that's something I am very excited for, and you should be very excited for if you're a Leafs fan. And obviously, it's true. He went from being an unknown first-round pick and kind of projected second or third to an almost untouchable asset, and they didn't want to move off of him for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the last 5 months or so. And he is throwing the ball around. He plays physical. He scores points. He's hard to play against. And like I said, going into the playoffs, I'm going to keep a close eye on London because it's going to be exciting going forward to see what he can do, if he can translate this to the NHL. I think he can. Just the type of game he plays, I think it will translate pretty well to the NHL. But I wonder if he even makes the Leafs roster next year. He has really shown that I'm not sure there's much left that he can learn in the OHL. We've seen it in other players in the past. Like even Nick Robertson, one year he was sent back and he scored like a goal a game. There's not much more you can learn at that level. So could he make the NHL next year? We'll see what he does in the playoffs, but pretty exciting stuff from the Leafs. So let us know what you think of the St. Pat's jerseys in the comments section. Would you have liked to see them look more like the Sundin era? Maybe you had a different idea. Let us know in the comments, and let us know what you think of Easton Cowan in the comments. He has been fantastic, and it's really nice to see a Leafs prospect just tearing up a junior league like this. So let us know in the comments, and we will see you for another video tomorrow.